Hey everybody, it's Jack and welcome back to another video. I've got an awesome one for you all today. It's actually going to be a CEO interview. So today I'll be sitting down with the CEO of a really exciting company and hopefully asking some really unique questions that as the audience allow you to see the business model and hopefully gain some insights into this stock and company. So the company in question today is actually a uranium company. Uranium is a resource and actually an element that is most oftenly used in actually nuclear power generation, one of the actually more efficient ways of actually producing energy that we have today. Uranium as a commodity itself is actually experienced quite a bull market in today's market environment. Over the past few months, the price of uranium has been steadily increasing. Within the last few weeks, it's actually skyrocketed as a lot of news has come out that has helped pushing the price of uranium up, which allows it to be a really unique opportunity today, and which is a huge positive for the company in which the CEO will be talking with today. So the company of which the CEO I'll be chatting with today is Uranium Energy Corp. It trades under the ticker symbol UEC on the New York Stock Exchange, and it currently trades just north of $3 at $3.13 American. And as you can see today, it's up over 5%. And UEC currently has a market cap of $730 million. And if we look at how the stock has been trading, like I said, uranium has been on a huge run over the past few weeks. So if we look at the past week alone, we can see that Uranium Energy Corp, UEC, is up over 28% just in the last week alone, which is crazy. And over the past month, we are looking at over 40% in share price appreciation. So as you can see, the uranium market is on the up and up and has had a lot of positive news going for it, and the share prices of these companies reflect that. So with that being said, let's jump into the interview and learn more about Uranium Energy Corp. All right, awesome. Welcome everybody. Today I'm joined with a very special guest. I have the pleasure of sitting down and chatting with the CEO of Uranium Energy Corp, Mr. Amir Adnani. Welcome, Amir.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jack.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. So before we dive into the questions I have today, I thought maybe it'd be good for the audience if people are just seeing or hearing of Uranium Energy Corp for the first time, if you could just maybe do a high-level overview of the company and what it is you guys do.
Uranium Energy Corp is really the premier US focused uranium development, exploration, and mining company. Our company was founded by myself in 2005. I've been the CEO of the company since inception. And during the 16-year period since inception, our company's mined uranium from our South Texas operations. And since 2011, when the sector really experienced a difficult turn with the Fukushima incident in Japan, our company's really taken the bear market on as an opportunity to grow our platform, believing that longer term nuclear power has a critical role to play in the world's energy mix. And so, not really giving up on the sector and what has really been a difficult long bear market. And so, during this period, we've been aggressively growing our asset base, acquiring projects in the US with a focus on in situ recovery of uranium, which we can talk about. It's a very interesting, low cost, and alternative way to mining uranium than conventional mining methods. And so today, I would say we have more uranium projects permitted and ready for production in the US than any other company. We're definitely also very diversified in our approach, not only with our uranium property and project portfolio, but a mix of uranium related equity holdings, physical uranium, and cash that we have on our balance sheet, really giving our company and our shareholders a variety of ways of exposure to what we believe is a bull market in uranium yet to come. But that when it comes, we want to make sure we are very, very adequately positioned for that at Uranium Energy Corp.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a great recap. So jumping into my first question is energy consumption and really just the demand for utilities over the past years have really started to go up and up and up, especially with the shift towards EVs and really just clean energy and reducing emissions. It really puts nuclear power in a unique spot as it is one of the more efficient ways of generating power. So how do you think the tailwinds from that are having a positive effect on uranium and UEC moving forward over the next few years?
It's historic. It's like we've never seen before. You mentioned EV and electric vehicle and how we transport and move around, right? If you just look up Tesla and the year that Tesla was formed as a company. I
Yeah.
believe it was 2005. And I'm using Tesla really just as a barometer of how far EV has come. And so you think about the last bull market in uranium, which was in 2006, and the concept of EV, as indicated by where Tesla was really at its infancy. That company was a baby. Today, as a result of the major market share and market capitalization that Tesla has garnered, every major automaker in the world is now talking about going all electrical or some electrical sometime in the next 1, 2 to 3 years, right? And that movement can't be ignored anymore. It's not talk anymore. It's absolutely real. And the second thing that's real are these pledges that we've seen governments make towards net zero emissions by 2035 or 2050. And now, more than ever before, we're seeing a concerted effort by individuals, by corporations, and by companies towards reducing their carbon emissions. And so all of that, in my opinion, creates the most powerful force behind supporting the reliance and the need to rely on nuclear power than ever seen before. Because nuclear power has always been, frankly, somewhat of a hated uh, concept or form of energy generation. A lot of skepticism around it because of what happened at Fukushima, because of what happened at Chernobyl, and because of the fact that nuclear has also been used in weapons, and we know that side of the story. So it hasn't had the best image, and it has been hated. But when you think about how limited the casualties were, in fact, at Fukushima, no one died from the Fukushima incident when it came to the nuclear reactor. And you compare that to the much more significant environmental damage that we're witnessing as a result of greenhouse gases and what is happening as a result of the amount of reliance we've had on carbon consumption. It's nowhere near. It's just there is no, let's say, even comparison. Nuclear power has an incredible ability to generate enormous power without any emissions, and doing it consistently, right? Renewables are great, right? But renewables really have the limitation around not being consistent. It's limited by how much availability there is of the sun shining and the wind blowing. And so you look at these advocates for nuclear power, and I love nuclear power's advocates because they're not just advocates, they're putting their own money to work. Look at Bill Gates. He's not just writing a book arguing for the importance of nuclear power in our energy mix moving forward. He's putting hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money behind research in areas like small modular reactors to build companies like TerraPower, to build innovative new ways of utilizing and harnessing nuclear power's qualities and advantages. So to bring it back to your question, I believe we're seeing historic shifts and developments in attitudes and policy and capital being deployed by billionaires, governments, and corporations like never seen before, all of which provides a backdrop favorable for nuclear power and uranium consumption that I've never seen in my 16 years as an entrepreneur in this industry.
Yeah, that's really exciting and some good points. And the next question kind of plays off of that. You mentioned governments, and I know the US government has put some initiatives and some plans in place to try and focus on energy infrastructure in the United States, specifically even some towards uranium production in the United States. Can you maybe just talk about the supply and demand issue that we're currently seeing in the US and how that is exciting for UEC and how they're positioned?
The United States is the largest consumer of uranium in the world. The consumption is approaching 50 million pounds of uranium annually to generate 20% of US electricity. That's one in every 5 homes. 94 units are operating reactors. That's more than any other country in the world. There's about 440 reactors operable in the world. So the largest concentration of operable reactors is in the United States. From a supply chain point of view, it doesn't get scarier than that. How many other sectors do we know of where the US is the largest consumer of anything? It could be beef, it could be masks, it could be pharmaceuticals, yet have zero domestic capabilities. And the largest supplier of uranium to the US market isn't Mexico or Canada, it's Russia and Kazakhstan. And so, and I'm not trying to say Russia's a bad supplier. all I'm trying to say is in any kind of sensible supply chain, you have diversification. And in every sensible supply chain for a vital commodity, you have some local capabilities. The fact that there's currently zero uranium mining in the US, zero local capability to provide the fuel that runs one in every five homes electricity in the US is and should be of grave concern. Well, it is of grave concern. And for the first time since the 1950s in the the US government has not only passed billions of dollars of support in the latest stimulus bill for the existing reactor fleet to make sure they stay financially strong and viable, but at the same time has proposed to create a US national uranium reserve to purchase uranium from newly mined sources from US source on US soil. And this is to stimulate growth in domestic uranium mining. And so clearly, the US government, after looking at this issue for a number of years, recognized that this is of national and energy security concern. The fact that there's no uranium mining in the US, they want to do something about it. What they're going to do about it, this idea of creating a national strategic reserve, the last time again that this was done was in the Eisenhower administration. So it's not a every year, every decade event. It's again quite, you got to go after long-term cycles to see this issue come about. And I don't want to say, I told you so, but literally 16 years ago, the reason for forming Uranium Energy, for the reason for why myself as an entrepreneur have invested 16 years of my life in building a company and a business and the people and the assets strictly in the US with the view to be a US supplier was because of this factor. Because I saw 16 years ago, the US was importing 90% of its uranium requirements. I didn't think it would get to 100%, but it looked like we had to get to 100%, meaning zero uranium mining, before people decided to do something about it. And during this whole time, we've patiently been building the portfolio and the platform to be a leader when the time came and when the signals came and when the market developed that said, we value this. We value local production and we want to support local production. And let's get going now. And this is not the flick of a switch kind of industry. Uranium mining takes 7 years to 10 years to get just the licenses needed to mine uranium. The expertise is limited because we haven't had an industry for a long time. People that graduate from university don't get up and say, let me go get a job at a uranium mining company. There are no jobs. So the fact that we were able to build the human capital with individuals that were available and left, buy the properties, and then do the permitting work, which is the long lead item, assemble it all together. This speaks to those domestic policies that was at the start of your question in terms of what are we seeing in terms of political development, political support. And I guess I'm happy to say we're seeing bipartisan support. And that's really saying a lot in an environment and in a world where politics are so polarized, like never seen before. The fact that nuclear energy is actually enjoying bipartisan support really goes to show you it's just there's enough other things to argue and disagree about. This isn't one of them.
Yeah, I really think we're starting to see that shift, and people are starting to notice that they do need producers and suppliers in-house, or else it is going to get out of hand if it's not already. Which leads into my next question, kind of the growth strategy that I've been seeing for UEC and what it is moving forward. I know recently you guys have shifted from being focused purely on the exploration and mining side to actually beginning to purchase and actually store and warehouse physical uranium. So can you maybe talk about whether or not that's a priority moving forward? Are you kind of balancing the two and like that?
So just if I can take a step back and then come around to that to answer your question. But stepping back, when the company was formed in 2005, our mission was to become a producer. And we went from a business plan in '05 to production in late 2010, basically in 5 years. So we executed and we executed extremely well in a sector that takes a long time to get mines up and running. We built and we got into production. And then unfortunately, Fukushima happened. We had to change our strategy. And our strategy became about recognizing that there was a discount on properties now because of an event that was negative for the sector. But that if we thought long term enough, this was a great time to buy assets. And so we tripled the size of our portfolio in terms of total number of projects and resources in the ground and permitted projects. We tripled the size of our business from 2010 to 2021, basically over the decade that came after that. Earlier this year, we looked at the fact that as the market was starting to recover, the uranium prices around $30 per pound were below what global mining costs were on average, and that the incentive price to build a new uranium mine was north of $50 per pound. And so it just seemed to us that another great asset for us to hold, and a way of almost holding our cash, was to hold it in physical uranium stored on US soil. So we're not taking any geopolitical risk, we're keeping it right here, but that we're taking advantage of the very low cost nature of the prevalent uranium prices in the market. So we established the physical uranium inventory program. We put almost a third of our available cash resources into physical uranium. And so when you look at our latest reported filings, we had over $110 million on our balance sheet of cash, physical uranium, and equity holdings. And the equity holdings is the 18% ownership that we have in a company called Uranium Royalty Corp. That's the only company in the world applying the royalty and streaming model exclusively to the uranium sector. And so our balance sheet really took the view that, hey, first of all, cash is nice to have, but cash on a daily basis is being debased by governments all over the world. Uranium is an asset that truly is undervalued relative to where marginal cost of production is, relative to where incentive prices to build new uranium mines. And we need to build new uranium mines because, generally speaking, the world consumes more uranium than it produces. And our investors believe that uranium prices are going higher. So why not give our investors even more exposure to the underlying commodity? And so for all those reasons, we have gone after our physical uranium strategy. And look, if uranium prices go north of $50 per pound, we can have accelerated cash flow from selling our inventory first before we restart production from operations that have a ramp-up time associated with them. So I think we have multiple benefits embedded in owning physical uranium at the point in the price cycle in the low $30 per pound environment where we've been accumulating it.
Wow, that is an awesome outlook on uranium. And that kind of wraps up all the major questions I had for you today. I do appreciate the insights and you taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down and chat. So thank you very much.
My pleasure, Jack. Yeah, look forward to staying in touch.
Thanks, Amir.
Thank you.
So there you have it. That was my chat with Amir. Hopefully you guys found some valuable information and really enjoyed some of the responses he had. And as you can see from his responses, he's super knowledgeable when it comes to uranium and the sector as a whole. He's been a member of the sector and honestly one of the leaders in the space over the past 15 years. So it's really exciting to hear the information and what he has to say straight from the source. I find it really useful and it's just really fun for me to sit down and ask questions to these CEOs. So definitely let me know down below in the comments whether you like these styles of videos. I have a few more interviews planned, and if you guys enjoy them, if the response is good, I'll keep on putting some of these interviews together and hopefully start to get more and more CEOs coming here on the channel. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button and make sure to subscribe. Lots more content coming your way. I'll see you in the next one.